This next video is going to be a short Q&A of questions that I get asked often. I did reach out on my social media platforms and ask what questions that people had about surrogacy or some things that they maybe didn't quite understand, so I'm going to address a few of those as well. But I think hopefully I answer most of the questions that people have. If you happen to be watching this and you have questions that I didn't answer, feel free to comment or message me and I will address them in a future video. I do have a few videos planned after this. We are finally getting caught up to where I won't need to do so many at a time, and then I'll just kind of do the big stuff following. So I have my computer here, I have all the questions written down, so I'm going to kind of look back and forth. But the number one question I get asked more than anything is, will it be hard to give the baby up? And frankly, the answer is no, but I've never done this before. I've never given birth and didn't go home with a baby. So I can't say in the very end how I'm gonna feel, but I know that baby is not at all genetically related to me. It is not my egg that we used, so I don't think it'll be hard to give baby up. Plus seeing the baby with parents is just gonna make it so much better, I think. I feel like I will probably be emotional. I will probably cry. However, I just gave birth. I'm gonna be hormonal. I think it's a normal response. However, I feel like more so than anything, it'll be a happy emotional response. Again, seeing the parents with their baby and seeing their family with their baby is just really going to make the whole thing worth it for me. And so I don't think it's going to be hard, but I plan on doing kind of another video after the baby's born, maybe re-answering some of these questions to get a new perspective. So as of now, no, I don't think it'll be hard. Was it hard to convince my husband to let me be a surrogate? No. Ryan and I had talked about this a long time ago, years ago. I had mentioned it. I have been an egg donor twice. I had mentioned to him that to me, I just felt like that wasn't enough. I wanted to do this for somebody. So when we did finally sit down and talk about this as something real, it wasn't a surprise for him. His biggest concern was postpartum depression, or what if something goes wrong, and to me those are real concerns. So I understand his fears there, but I wanted to make sure before I decided to do this that my husband understood that I wouldn't do it without his consent, and I wouldn't do it without his support. And that's out of respect for my husband. He is just as much a part of this as I am. So it's very important to me that he feels like he's heard and understood and valued during this process, because again, I couldn't do this without him. So, and what does my family think? My family's okay with it, and as much as I love my family, their opinions really wouldn't have swayed me, because ultimately what I choose to do with myself as an adult is my choice. The biggest opinion I looked to was my husband's. So once my husband and I had decided that this was something I was going to do and it was something that he was okay with, I did speak with my family and say, hey, I'm going to be a surrogate. I'm doing the process right now. This is what we're doing. So my family had some of the same concerns as my husband, but again, I just kind of expressed to them how important this was to me and how much I wanted to do this. And now that I'm nearly 24 weeks pregnant, my family is very supportive and make sure I'm doing okay often. So while their opinions wouldn't have swayed me, it would have been more painful, I think, to not have their support. So whose egg did we use? They used a donor egg. This couple, baby's parents, used a donor egg. There are two types of surrogacy. There's traditional surrogacy, where the surrogate uses their own eggs, and there's gestational surrogacy where you use a donor egg, and so I'm a gestational surrogate because I didn't use my eggs. And to my understanding, that makes the process just a little bit longer because then you have to have an egg donor who has to do med cycling and the egg harvest, and then they do the embryo freezing. I'm not super familiar with traditional surrogacy. I don't know if they do an egg harvest with a traditional surrogate as well, and then they do the sperm and embryo, or the sperm and egg to form the embryo, and then they reimplant. So I can't really talk on traditional a whole lot. I just know as a gestational, we did not use my eggs, they used a donor egg. Somebody asked me, how do I keep myself emotionally detached from the pregnancy? It's a hard one. I wouldn't say I'm completely emotionally detached. I care about the baby. I want to be safe and healthy for the baby, and I want to make sure the baby is safe and healthy. My biggest worry, and this was a very marginal worry, was that once baby started moving and I felt movement, I might sort of attach to baby, but that hasn't been a problem. I have a very hard time forming attachments, even with my husband and my kids. I carried my boys for 9 months, and it took a couple of months after to really form a true bond to them. Did I love them? Absolutely. Would I have laid down and died for them? In a heartbeat. But, and it's so hard to explain unless you've been a parent, I guess, that's been through this. I don't form attachments easily. So once I'm settled in that with them, it makes it easier, and sometimes it just takes time. And my husband and I have been together 11 years, and it took years for my husband. Did I love him? Yes, I did. Would it hurt to lose him? Yes, it would. But 9 years ago, I didn't have the attachment to him that I have now. So I care about baby. I want to make sure baby is safe, but I also know the baby is not mine. So emotionally, I am not as attached. I don't know how to say that without it sounding awful and kind of horrible, but that's just how it is for me. And then what happens if I do get feelings for baby? I think it's natural to have feelings for the baby. It's something that I spent 9 months growing inside of me and kind of connecting with in a different way. However, at the end of the day, baby is going home with different parents. Baby's going home with baby's parents. So this is not my baby. I don't worry that I will have those feelings. I don't feel like baby's going to be taken from me. I don't feel that because I know this isn't my kid. So what happens after the baby's born? So it's a little different for every state. Some states surrogacy is illegal, so you have to do out of state. In Iowa, I believe the law is that W&J have to adopt baby even though genetically baby's related to them. Because it was carried by somebody else, we will have to do like parentage paperwork, and I think they've already started doing that. I haven't had to do anything yet, but as we get closer to the end, there's paperwork that I'll have to do. I don't think technically it's not like signing your rights over, but I'm not super in tune with that either. I've looked into it a little bit, but not a whole lot. But ultimately, there's paperwork involved, and then baby will go home with W&J. So, and I don't think baby has to stay in the hospital. Like, it's not something that baby's kind of in limbo until that's done. It's something that we start while I'm still pregnant, so that baby can just go home at the end of the 3 days that I'm there and be with baby's parents. The second most common thing I get asked is about money being a surrogate. I refuse to talk about it. I won't talk about it. I really don't think it's anybody's business. I do surrogacy because I want to help somebody, because I feel like money shouldn't be what stops somebody from having a baby. I don't know. I get frustrated when people ask me about money because it seems like that's all that matters. And to me, that is the last thing I care about. Do I get paid? Yes, I do. That money is sitting in an account, untouched, and that's where it will stay. And then I know something that I get asked often and that is kind of confusing is, what is the timeline like? So the timeline will vary for every single person out there. It depends on how ready your intended parents are, and it depends on all the medical process, and also how many how many people are looking for a surrogate. I did my application in November of 2016. I did my phone interview in March of 2017, home visit in April of 2017, matched officially at the end of June 2017. I had my medical screening, which required a psych eval, medical eval, a sonohistograph, and there was something else, blood work and all of that. So a full medical clearance in September of 2017. And in between that time, I had to send in all of my medical records. I had to send in delivery records for both of my kids. I had to be medically cleared by my own OB. And then from there, we waited just a little bit. I did med cycling in November of 2017, egg transfer December 5th of 2017, and confirmed pregnancy on December 14th, 2017. So about a year from application to confirmed pregnancy. And again, that timeline will vary for everybody. I know some people match a little bit more quickly than maybe I did. Some people don't have to do as much. Some people won't have the home visit. Some people may not have to do as much screening. It just varies by clinic. And if you are interested in surrogacy, a clinic can give you kind of an idea of a timeline of what is average for their surrogates. As for an intended parent, I know that W&J told me that our timelines happen to kind of coincide. And November of 2016 is when they got serious about wanting to have a baby. So I think that their timeline has been just as long as mine. So I'll be delivering in August, and at that point we'll be close to 2 years for the process. And that sounds like a lot of time, but to me and to my husband and to W&J, it has gone so quickly. I cannot believe that I'm 24 weeks pregnant. If you'd asked me even in September of last year, I couldn't have imagined I'd be at this point. So it sounds like a long timeline, and I mean, it's not a quick process necessarily, but it feels like it goes by quickly. There's so much to do. You're busy the whole time, and as long as everything goes well, you can have a baby within 2 years. Sometimes there are drop cycles or cancel cycles. Sometimes you miscarry. Sometimes the embryo doesn't take it all, and then you might have to do another cycle. So that's about another 1.5 month process. So it'll vary for everybody. But like I said, if you're interested in it, reach out to your clinic and just set up a time to talk with them and meet with them and find out what their requirements are, what their average timeline is like. And then just, see if that works for you, and then kind of go from there. That's what we did. I did my application, stayed hopeful, and then kind of talked with somebody on my phone interview about their timeline, what the process looked like for them, and ultimately if I truly felt like this was something I could dedicate that much time to. For me, it was a no-brainer. It was an easy, instant yes. I wanted to do this, so the timeline didn't scare me. Honestly, if it had been shorter, it might have scared me. It's not something to rush. So those are the questions I get asked the most. And then, like I said, if I get any questions along the way, I'll try to incorporate those here in my future videos. But for now, that's all I have.